We're actually going to get started with Head Over Heels, which has its first preview tonight. And so we have to make sure that we let Jeff go so he can get back to the theater and be part of the preparations for the first performance. So Jeff, I'd love to hear a little bit about what inspired Head Over Heels. What is it exactly that we're going to be seeing on the Elizabethan stage this summer?
Let's see. I first want to begin by thanking all of you here, just from my perspective, because without people like you, I'd be writing a lot of pretty words and doing them on a road somewhere by myself. So it was really very much appreciated. I grew up in Coos Bay, Oregon. I was educated at the University of Oregon. What brought me back here is not my Oregon connections, but through Bill Rausch, who I met doing a show in California, and I'm just so glad to be back. And Head Over Heels began as the offer to do a jukebox musical. And what a jukebox musical is, it's like Jersey Boys or Mamma Mia. We have an existing song catalog, and you set it to story. And the catalog offered to me was the Go-Go's. A band from the 1980s, a great all-female rock band, the first of their kind, real pioneers, great musicians. I didn't know them that well, I knew their hits. And I didn't want to do something set in the 1980s. And so I said, at the University of Oregon, I read a book called The Old Arcadia by Sir Philip Sidney, written in the late 1500s, that had never been adapted to the stage. And I said, what if we took this book and set it to the Go-Go's music catalog? And it was just an idea, just a 3-page idea, and then 1,000 sweaty overnight nights later, the entire show is an iambic pentameter, written in, is a pretty authentic Elizabethan English style, except when it isn't. And, the very, very short thing is, this is from Sir Philip Sidney. It's about a royal family, a king, a queen, and 2 daughters, and the king goes to an oracle to basically get reassurance that his life is going to be great, and she gives him terrible news, 4 terrible prophecies. So he decides, well, I'm going to buck the oracle and take my family on the run. So he takes them, it's a road trip story, sort of, and some of it you'll see, which is Sir Philip Sidney, which is Jeff, because I took the basic plot points and then mixed them up. So when you see cross-dressing, that's Sir Philip Sidney. But there are other elements that are not, and I'll let you decide. But it's just been, my goal at the very beginning was to send the audience out absolutely giddy and absolutely with their hearts full. So it'll begin as a big pageant, the costumes and set designs and projections and everything. The musical orchestrations are exquisite. We have an 8-piece orchestra, incredibly gifted local musicians. But then the show, which seems like a light comedy, takes another direction, and I don't want to give anything away, but I will say I do hit what in the show I call both sides of the card, comedy and tragedy, and they both exist together, and that's what's called a romance. And that's what Head Over Heels is. So, it's a lot of fun. And what I would suggest, when you're talking to people, is, people will have just a great time. It's a great date show. It really is. And it's a very, very sort of 3rd grade sexual humor that, if you get it, you get it. But your 6-year-old kid's kind of not going to get it. They'll be just fine. There's nothing about it that is bawdy. I want to write a family show. I want to be able to speak to everybody. And so that's basically the blueprint of Head Over Heels, except to say that it's honestly been, I've done several musicals over the years, and it's just been the best experience working here at the Shakespeare Festival. We had the option to go anywhere, and I said I wanted to take it here. I'd done the Further Adventures of Hedda Gabler here a few years ago, and thank you. It's just absolutely my favorite place to work, and they might have to evict me from my artist housing. I may just not leave. So that's the story, if anyone has questions.
I love it. What's been the most surprising thing about the marriage of Elizabethan romance and 1980s American pop.
Eerily. And I say this show, I have two, yes, I'm a creator of the show, but I'm also excavating the show on some really very eerie level. That there's a song called We Got the Beat. Everybody get up on your feet. Iambic pentameter is made up of feet, beats, heartbeats. And so weirdly, there aren't that many lyric changes. I mean, very, very few. You will think the score was written for the show. It's incredibly bizarre, the way it all came out. And Carmel Dean, who's our brilliant music supervisor, the first person I asked to join me, because I'm not musical, so she could tell me what was possible. These gorgeous lush arrangements, but it's the Go-Go's music. We didn't rewrite anything. So we're gonna sit behind them on opening night. They have no clue what we've been doing with their catalog, just to watch their responses.
I love it. And what can you tell us about the performers who are going to be bringing this experience to life tonight? There are some OSF veterans in the cast, but a lot of new names as well.
A lot of names, with a musical, this one is hard because usually they require what's called a triple threat, meaning you sing, act, and dance. And this one requires also a facility with heightened text. And so you'll see many, many familiar faces from the company, and some new faces as well. Everyone is blended together seamlessly. One actor named Bonnie Milligan, who plays Pamela, the daughter. I saw her in New York. She was just starting out. She didn't have any big credits, and I saw her perform, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you watch her. I was like, oh, I'm writing a part for you, darling, and I'm bringing you to the Oregon Shakespeare Fest. She's unbelievable, but I've got to say, every single person in the cast is divine, and I've been crafting the roles around them, around the inspiration that they've given me.